Right, and welcome to this demo video for the Freelance Timesheet Invoice. Um, this is quite a complicated spreadsheet. Well, complicated in the sense that it does a lot of stuff, but it's not that difficult to fill in. But what you would start off with is section 1, which with the black tabs. So I've broken these all down to sections. You can see the black tabs here are the settings. Your red tabs are your data input, and your blue and green tabs are various reports that are generated from the data input. So the first section of this video, we're going to start with the intro and settings and logo tabs. Alright, first of all, here are the links to the videos. You can watch the videos on the Spreadsheet Solutions website or on YouTube. But let's just scroll down to the information that you need to input. This block here you can see is black. That's because that company name has already been inputted. When you purchase the product, we'll put that name in for you and we'll lock it for security reasons. As for all the other red cells, those are all things that you would fill in. So let's go through the setup very quickly. It's not that difficult. These are all of your company details, so your phone number, where you'd want clients to contact you, your email address, where you want clients to email you, your registered address. This is for the invoice, your website, company registration number, and VAT registration number. So as you type these ones in, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you can just type them in as numbers. They will format accordingly. So this 1, 2, 3, you can see it's got the spaces in the VAT. You don't actually need to put the spaces in. You just type it in as a number and click enter. Oh, no, we don't want to have that in the end. Put it in as a number and click enter, and the spaces will automatically do their thing. So what you need to do is obviously put in your contact details. All these contact details are going to appear on the invoice. So you just want to make sure you put the right contact details in there. If you want to have a look here, when you click on the invoice, you'll see it's got all your contact details on the invoice, and that is all fueled from this. So you can fill that information in. Instructions and note regarding your invoice. So you'll have various lines on your invoice, so you can put in all the main terms and conditions. Not obviously all your terms and conditions. There'll be a link to all of those, but any important ones that you want to put in, that you want to appear on the invoice, you can type each line being a separate line, and you can just type in what you want. So I put in the invoice is due within 10 days from the invoice date. You can also maybe put in we do not accept cash, or whatever else you want to do, and just click it, and it will go onto the invoice. Your banking details header, you can type in there what you wanted to say. So I put in there, please make any online payments to our bank account. You can type in anything you want there, just as an introduction to your bank account details. Put your bank name, sort code, and account number. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It puts the little lines in for you, so you can just type in the number. Terms and conditions link, you can put the link in there that where you want to send people to have a look at your terms and conditions, which will also appear on your invoice. So if they do want to see your full terms and conditions, they can follow that link to go and see your full terms and conditions. This will come down to the quote section. The last thing for the invoice is how many days until your invoice is due and how many days until your invoice is overdue. You don't necessarily need to fill that in, but on your invoice list, which we'll get to, it flags up different colors depending on if your invoice is due or overdue. So you can put in, so from your invoice date, how many days they have until they need to pay it, and how many days has become overdue. That's just for your administrative efforts. So you can, you can, if you want to make that clearer as far as for the client on the actual invoice, you need to type them in over here as well. But this here is just to help you monitor which one's overdue later on. As we scroll down on your quote, there's a main text on your quote where you want to put in your main quotation, kind of possibly terms and conditions, but whatever you want to put in your quote. Let's just take a look at the quote. There's underneath the project, there's a whole lot of text there regarding the quote, and then later on there's all the small print. So what you can do on your info and setup is you can type the main text up here, and then all your small print for the quote you can type in there. Obviously the text is a lot smaller. The text here, because it's all in one cell, when you get to the end of this text and you actually want to drop down a line, you can't just click enter, because if you click enter, it'll take you out of the cell. So what you need to do there is if you hold down Alt and click enter, it drops down a line, and then backspace to go back again. So that's how you get the paragraphs in one cell in Excel. So there's your main kind of text for your quote, your small print for your quote. If you're not sure where this goes, just type something in and click on the quote, and you'll see where it is, and then you can go back, because then at least you know what it is that you're filling in. Your name you can put in here. This will appear on the quote. Your job title you can put in here, which will appear in the quote. Your email address and your telephone number. You can put all of that in the contact number, because if we go back to the quote, you'll see down here it's got those details in there on the quotation. What else do we need to do? Alright, this last little bit here is these blocks down the right hand side. Definition of a fixed price for client, definition of a monthly retainer, and definition of an hourly rate. Now, there are 3 job types that you can select on this later on when we get to the job list. One of them being a fixed price. So in other words, you quoted them a fixed price to do a project, and that price isn't going to change, well, unless of course they add some more, but for all intents and purposes, it's a fixed price for the contract. The second one would be a monthly retainer, so you do a certain amount of work each month, and you charge them the same amount each month as a monthly retainer. Well, the last one is an hourly rate, where they give you a project to do and you quote them per hour, and depending on how long the project takes, the price will adjust accordingly. So what you can do is just put in a small description there, just so that the client understands what a fixed price means, what a monthly retainer price means, and what an hourly rate means. You can just type up something in there, and that will just appear on the quotation, just so that the client goes, what does it mean by fixed price, what does it mean by monthly retainer? They can see what you have to say about each of those different job types. And last but not least is the VAT. Now, if the government plays ball and we always have the VAT at the same rate, you would have to put the start date here whenever you start the spreadsheet, and just put in the VAT rate here. There's no end period. If there's no end period, it'll take it as current. Let's just say that the government decides to change the VAT. Let's just say on the 1st of January 28, let's just say on the, what was it, 31st of December 2017. They stop it, and then therefore the 1st of January 2018 it changes, and let's just say it goes down to 18%. Now what it'll do, because you've put it in like this, and we haven't just changed the overall VAT rate, all transactions that you've done between those dates will stay at 20%, and all transactions that you now do after that date will change to 18%, or on or after that date. So that's all you need to do. If the VAT rate changes, put in the end period for the previous one. The next start period will start the very next day. Leave it blank and put in the VAT rate. But if it stays at 20%, you can just remove that. Just put in your start date when you start the spreadsheet, and the VAT rate, and you can just leave it like that, unless of course it changes. Right, so that's your main setup on the first tab. We've got a second tab of setup, and this is very simple. All it is your company logo. If we have a look at the invoice, at the moment there's nothing there. So we go to the company logo and we say insert, click on pictures, and then we look for the correct logo. Let's just say we want to insert that one. When we insert the picture, you can move it within the black border and you can resize it. Now, the only criteria that needs to happen, it needs to be within the black border. You can center it, but provided it's within the black border, it will then appear when you go to your invoice. You will now see that logo on your invoice. If you actually go to your logo and you move it like that, so it's overlapping the black, when you go to your invoice, you'll see it actually cuts it off. So what you need to do is you just need to make sure that whatever image you insert here, that it fits within that black border. And there you've got your image, and your image will appear on the quotes, not only on the quotes, but also, on the invoice as well. So that's how you insert your logo onto the image and quote. So once you've done your intro and setup settings, and once you've done your logo, you're now ready to start. The only thing that you would need to bear in mind is that all of these different pages have limited space, all your data entry. So you would need to gauge how long you can keep a spreadsheet for. I would imagine most people should be able to keep it for a financial year. I would suggest starting a new one for the next financial year. I'll show you how to copy and paste data across like client lists and things like that. It's very, very simple. But you will eventually, if you go to your client list for arguments, or actually your job list for argument's sake, you've only got 500 spaces there, so eventually you're going to run out of space. So you might just want to keep that in mind when you are setting up the spreadsheet, that set it up for a year. But what I would suggest you do is actually set up all of this information first, and then save yourself a default copy of this, a blank one that you can use when, say, if you want to start a new one, you don't have to refill this information in. I would suggest doing that. So yeah, we'll move on to part 2, which will be the data entry. All right, and here we are onto the data entry. Now, the data entry are these 4 red tabs at the bottom here. And let me show you, they each do something different. The first one is a client list. This is where you would input each of your clients. Because obviously when you want to send a client an email, not an email, when you want to send them a quote or an invoice, you want to have their address and things like that onto the quote and what have you. So what we're going to do is, I've already added a fictitious client. I'll just add a new one. So if you say the new client name is, well, we'll put new client, and we'll put in something different, Mr. Customer. You can put in a contact person, you can put in their telephone number, you can put in their contact email, contact person. This is an alternative contact person, the primary contact person. So if you've got a second contact person that you need to contact, you can leave it blank. In fact, let me just remove this, I'll show you. Contact email, as you enter a contact email, click enter, it will auto generate into a hyperlink. So you can click on that if you want to actually send an email to the client. Full invoice address, you want to separate it by commas. So if you put a comma and a space in, that will actually see that as the end of the line. So you need to type a first line, comma, space, next one, comma, space, next line, so on and so forth. If you enter it like that, it will recognize it as as each line of the address. That number, you can put in there that number, which will go on the invoice. If you know that number, the spaces again will do their thing. So if you want 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it will separate automatically. And then you can put in the agreed hourly rate. Now, this isn't necessarily be fixed, but very often what will happen is you'll agree an hourly rate with a client, and if you do various projects for them, you can change each project. But all that'll happen is when you start a new project, it'll just recommend this hourly rate. So you can put in an agreed hourly rate for the client if you want to remember, how much have I said I'm going to charge this client, just put in here. You won't be bound by it for jobs, but it's just a good place to start. This is an ex-client. All you do is you check this box if and when this client is no longer a client. If you want to keep them on your records here, but you're not going to be doing any more work for them, all that checkbox does is it just removes them from drop-down lists on these other tabs. So it's just a bit more convenient. You don't have to scroll through all your different clients. That is all the information you need to enter for your client. Let's just scroll across and you can see some more stuff here. These will automatically fill in as you fill in other data on the other tabs. So you can see how much time you've worked, invoiced, uninvoiceable time. Uninvoiceable time is really just time that you can't invoice, amount invoiced, and amount hour. I'll show you all of that later on. This here shows if you've got any duplicate names. So if you were to put in your client again, it goes red because you can't have the same client name twice. You need to have all unique client names. Right, so that once you've filled in your client, that will then populate some of the things on the job list. So now when you go to your job list and you want to start a new job, all you do is you click on the client name and it's got a drop-down list, and there's your client. So any other clients that you add on there that you haven't ticked as being ex-clients will in fact appear on this drop-down list. So that's obviously a good place to start. So once you select your client name, let's just select the client name, and you select what job type it is. So your job name. If you select a new job for this client, you can see the job reference it gives is your client new job 1. If you did a your client new job again, it would give you your client new job 2. So each job reference is unique. You can put in a short job description. Let's just remove that for now. You can put in a short job description here, basically just very quickly describing the job, what's the job about, the start date for the job. So in other words, whenever you set this new job up, If there is an end date, you can put the end date in. If there's not an end date, you don't need to worry about it. You can leave it blank. Now, this is the bit that you've got to be very careful about. There's 3 sections here. This first section is for your hourly rate. If it's an hourly rate job, your next one is a fixed price, and your next one is a monthly retainer amount. So if it's an hourly, simply put in your hour rate, and if you click on there, it'll give you that default hour rate that you set. So there's an hour rate. If you say, well, actually, this job's not, it's £35 an hour, not 30, and you click and say the rate does not match your rate in the client list. If that's fine, you just click OK, and now you've overridden it. Or you can just select the default. Number of hours, you put in the number of estimated hours. It will say on the quote that it's an estimate. So if we want 80 hours, you need to put 80 with the little dots like that and 00 for 80 hours and 0 minutes. If you just put 80 and it'll think it's 80 days and it'll change it to 1,920 minutes. So 80 with 2 dots, and there we go. If it's a fixed price, put one of each, and that would be an hourly rate. This would be a fixed price job. You just put in the amount, excluding VAT. It'll add VAT into all of these if you in fact have put in a VAT amount. So excluding VAT, the fixed rate, and how many invoices do you want to issue. So you've got a choice of 1, 2, 3, or 4. Do you want to break it down into one payment? Do you want to turn it into 2 payments, 3 payments, or 4 payments? Or do you just want to charge it in one file swoop, in which case you just do 1? But sometimes you may want to deposit another amount, or 2 payments, or 3 or 4. Let's go back again. So your monthly retainer amount, all you need to do there is input, if it is in fact a monthly retainer job, is input just the amount that you're going to charge per month. The quote date, whatever date you type in here will be the date which will pop up on the quotation. So you can put in the date when you want to quote it, the quotation date, and you can put in quotation instructions. Now the quote, you may not be able to list all the different work that you're doing, so you may have to accompany it with a works list or some kind of template, or you may want to send out a full page of terms and conditions or a contract or something like that. So all you can type in here is please see the accompanying documents or that type of thing, or please find our accompanying terms and conditions, or please find the accompanying contract or the work list or whatever you want to send with this document. Because all this quote really does is give a few terms and conditions and the price. So you can type in there what the instructions for the quote as far as seeing how the documents are concerned, or whether, if it's a very short job description, you can put the job description in there as well. Once the job's completed, again, just check it off, because that means that this one won't pop up in other searches and things. That's all that does. If it's still open, leave that blank. And again, it tells you what job type it is. So if you intended this job to be something else, and it says hourly rate, you need to go back and check the prices you put in, where you've put them. Because it tells you this is an hourly rate job, that's a monthly retainer, that's a fixed price. So I would just check that if I were you. Make sure you've put in the right thing. And then you can have a look at time worked and so on each of the different job breakdown. You can see, because I've put in an estimate number of hours, this will tell me how many hours I've worked and say, well, you should be 5% of time into the project. So that's just an indication as I go along. So this is the page where you'd set up your jobs. Once you set up your jobs, the timesheet's very, very simple. All you do when you come in to put in time is come down, select the job which you did. So you select the job that you've done, retain a job there. You put in the date that you actually worked, and you put in the number of hours worked. If you worked, say, this hour here on the fixed job, but it's uninvoiceable time. Uninvoiceable time means it's time that you put in that you're not going to actually invoice for. It's not as important on the fixed price because you've got a fixed price, but on the others it might be handy if you did. So in other words, let's just say this 2, an hourly rate 2 hours was actually uninvoiceable time. You click that, you see it's not going to go on the invoice. All this says is, because later on when you generate an invoice, it's going to look at how many hours you've worked, if it's an hourly rate invoice at least, and tell you, okay, you've worked so many hours, you need to charge so much time. But if you actually put in some time that you don't want to charge for, maybe you've done extra work, or you've done some work to fix something that was your mistake, or whatever the case might be, you don't want to charge the client, just check here that it's uninvoiceable. It's not that important on the retainers and the fixed jobs, but if the client does query something, at least you know what you've done. So if you're not going to invoice for it, just check that column and it'll put it across there. That's all that one does. So what you can do now is, now that once you've added in all the time as you go along each day, all that's left to do is to do an invoice. This column here is merely for that. So if you want to sort by what's been invoiced, you can right click, copy, click on there, click down, right click, paste values, and then you've got the checks in here so you can sort by what's been invoiced, because you can't sort by this column because it's a formatted it's a formula column, it's not an input column. So this column is merely there. If you want to copy that and paste the values into here so that you can sort by what's been invoiced, you can do that. But otherwise you don't need to fill anything in that column. So once you've generated a client, generated a job, and done the timesheet, all that's left to do now is to generate invoices. There is one sheet that I'll show you, one of the reports just now, because it's got to do with this. If you go to your possible invoices to issue, it'll warn you of possible invoices that need to be done. So this is just the fixed rate one because it's the next one that's due. But if you've done work per hour, let's just go back. If you've done work here for your hourly client that you haven't invoiced yet, the reason why it's saying it's been invoiced is because I've done some of the invoices. But if you haven't done the invoice and there's work out saying it hasn't been invoiced, it will pop up here as a possible invoice that you need to send. So you can have a look through this page at any time to see what it's recommending that you may want to invoice for. But here's your invoice list. Put the next invoice number in. I haven't made these continue in sequence because I don't know where you want to start. I don't know what format you want to use for your invoice number. But put the next invoice number that you want to send, the date of the invoice, select the job reference your job reference that you are invoicing. Put the start date for the invoice and the end date for the working period, the start date and the invoice. Now what the working period means is which dates do you want to look at on the timesheet to use for that particular invoice. So if you work from the 1st of November to the 30th of November and you want to include all time between those two dates, put those two dates in there. So whatever time on your timesheet you want to include. So if this invoice is from the 1st November to the 30th of November, the other one will be from the next one will be from the 1st of December, the following day. If you start the next one from the 10th of December, you're going to miss out all the days in between. So you want to make sure that you get the right working period. This working period essentially is, you want to look at the timesheets at those dates. What dates do you want to pull through to include on this invoice? Now again, on your fixed jobs, it's not really that important. On your retainer, it is fairly important. Not that it changes the amount, but just so that it shows how many hours you've worked, so you can keep track of what you're doing. The fixed price, it's also quite important to put it on there, because at least then what you're doing is when you come here to your timesheet, if you haven't put the amount on it, you're going to have fixed ones here that are going to show that they haven't been invoiced yet. They still need to be invoiced. So what I would suggest you do is on this, just put the full date regarding that month, or if you're doing hourly payments, the period that you want to cover, just so that you know that actually invoices between all the time you work between those two dates has in fact been included on this invoice. If you've had a fixed fee, select the number 1 or 2, because I selected that this is going to be broken into 2 payments. It's invoice 1 or invoice 2. So invoice 1 of 2. And then when you go to the amount, it'll tell you what the amount is, because you said you're charging £600 over 2 invoices. This one here, hourly, it'll suggest an amount because it knows between the 1st of November and the 30th of November you've worked so many hours at such and such a rate. It'll work it out for you. And when you click on here for your monthly retainer, it will know what your monthly retainer is, because it looks at that job number on your monthly retainer and says you've said £300 per month. You have an invoice for this month, so boom, there we go, that's £300 for this month. So it'll suggest, again, if you want to overwrite those figures, you can. Let's just say, for argument's sake, this person here, £300 a month, you feel you haven't done enough work to justify that, and you want to charge, say, 280. If you click on there and say 280 and click OK, now you've effectively applied a discount. Now the next question is, do you want to show the discount on the invoice? If you select yes, then it will show the discount. It'll say it should have been 300, it's actually 280, you've had so much discount. If you don't want to show the discount, then just leave it off. It'll still show that amount, but it just won't show that there's actually a discount. That's how you set up an invoice. You don't need to fill this in yet until the invoice is paid. When it's paid, put in the date that it was paid and the amount. If it's paid in full, put in the full amount, so £300, and the date when it was paid. That will change the status. These invoice statuses, when you get close to the time where they should be expiring, that'll change to due or overdue, and as well as paid in full or part paid if you enter a lesser amount. So if I say that they paid £150, you see it goes to partly paid already. If I say £300, it says paid in full, and just put the date in as well. If you wish to issue a credit note, you cannot issue a part credit note. The only thing you can do is issue an entire credit note. So in other words, credit an entire invoice. So if you credit an entire invoice, let's just say we go here and we want to issue a credit note on the 1st of December, and it says paid in full because it's 0. If you come here and you issue that it is a credit note, and you issue that the invoice number, now what you need to do is put in which of these invoice numbers you want to credit. Let's just say you want to credit this one, number 1. If you put in number 1, it takes that away and it says that is actually being credited. So this invoice is now being credited, and then you can then make a new invoice for that amount. So if you want to credit half of that, you'd have to credit the entire invoice and reissue an invoice for half of the amount. So that's how you would do a credit note, is literally just start off as if you're doing an invoice. Just select that it's a credit note, and then select which invoice number here do you want to credit, and you'll credit that invoice and be able to start on another one. And then what you do, once you've entered the invoices details or credit note details, when you actually go to the invoice tab, all you need to do is select the invoice number, and it populates the entire invoice. So the client details, all of this stuff, your invoice type, gives you a breakdown, invoice description, the amounts, the VAT, your banking details, terms and conditions, all the rest of it. So all of that would be on your invoice. You can now save this as a PDF and send it off. And then if you need invoice number 2 and you change invoice number 2, it changes the details to match with invoice number 2. And you can save that as a PDF and send it off. And it's exactly the same with your quote. Select the job number and it populates your quote. But we'll come back to that in the next session. But that's how you enter all of the details. You get your client list where you enter your client details, job list where you can start a new job. You can start various jobs per client. Your timesheet where you invoice, where you put down how much time you spent in each job, and your invoice list where you can not only generate invoices, but you can also credit entire invoices by selecting a new line and selecting a credit note. And then once they're paid, you just put in the date paid and the amount. It will change the status. And in fact, once you put that amount in, it's been paid. If you look at your invoice, it will actually say paid in full on your invoice. You can also scroll across on this tab as well and see various other bits of information about that. Number of entries too. Those number of entries are how many lines on the timesheet have been included in there, how much time's been worked, that kind of thing. So I would suggest even whatever job type you do, it's quite important to put the working period start and end dates in, just to make sure that you've covered all the time that you've worked. Yeah, we'll be back shortly for the last session. Alright, the final session of this video is the reports. Now the quote is very simple, it's all laid out. A lot of this information comes from your intro and settings, as you would have seen. So all of that set up on your intro and settings. But once you've created some jobs, all you need to do is come here. Sometimes when you click on this one, that little arrow disappears, but it is still there. Click on it, and you can find any one of your jobs. So let's just say we click on the fixed rate. It will then populate this quote according to that particular job. That's what you can see there. Please see the company documents which details the work. That's what you've typed in on your job list. You can see it's fixed price. It explains to the client what fixed price means. That's on your intro and settings tab. You've got company registration number, all the rest of it. That all comes from all of your other tabs that you filled in. So now if you can save that as a PDF, send it to the client. If you want to generate another quote, just simply click on that number and it pulls up the different quotes. To clear the template, just remove that. So that's the quotation template. The invoice template is exactly the same. Once you've generated invoices, simply come here, click the invoice number, and it pulls up all of the details. So all of this information that you've got on the quotes generated comes from any one of these 4 tabs or your intro and settings tab. This logo here comes from your logo tab. So you can obviously change, if something's wrong here, you can go back to your intro and settings, change it any time and it will change. So you're not actually keeping thousands of invoices on here, but you're just generating each one as you need it. So if you want to say, I need to reprint invoice 1, you can just go back to invoice 1 and it will change back to what you had in invoice 1. I would suggest, however, making a PDF copy to send to the client, because if you just send this to the client, you'll send all of these tabs to the client, which you don't want to do. So save as, if you go here, File, Save As, you can change it, and you can actually change it to PDF. Let me show you. If you go to File, Save As, and I go to Desktop, and you can then change Excel workbook there, and you can click on PDF, and you'll change it to a PDF. Alright, so that's your invoice. These are 3 other tabs which will be quite useful. This is a possible invoices to issue. What this does is it looks through your jobs, it looks how you should have invoiced, it checks your timesheet, and it says, hold on, you're charging per hour, you've done work, you haven't invoiced it yet, maybe you need to invoice something. And what it'll do is it'll pop up here with a list of potential invoices, possible invoices to issue. Then it's not 100% because obviously that, for argument's sake, a fixed price job, it doesn't know how far you are along in that job, so it will suggest that you've got another invoice to invoice, but it doesn't necessarily know if you started the work yet or if you finished the work yet or how far along you are. So it's not 100% accurate, but it will pull up all the potential invoices that you could be sending. So it should help you not to forget any. If you've done 4 hours of pay per hour work for a client and you've forgotten about it, it'll pop up here to go, do you remember you did those 4 hours? You should be invoicing that. So it's good just to run through, make sure you haven't forgotten to invoice anything. The next page, which looks very complicated, is not that complicated. It's just an invoice inquiry. If you want to know more about where the data comes from your invoices, or if your client phones up and says invoice such and such, what works that relating to, if you click on invoice 1, it shows you the job reference, the company name, job name, all this kind of stuff, how much time was invoiced, how much uninvoiceable time there was, working period, the values, whether there's discounts, whether it was shown, all this stuff will show on the invoice, the status, date paid, everything. But down below here is all your time invoiced and uninvoiceable time. It'll break it down as for the date and the hours worked. So if the client's querying, you can say, well, hold on, on the 28th of November, I worked 4 hours. On this date, I worked so many hours. On that date, I worked so many hours. And you've got all the information per invoice at your fingertips, should you get any inquiries regarding invoices. The other one, which is quite useful, is a client and job report. This is, let's just clear this so I can show you how to complete that. You can go into your client name and you can select your client, or you can select all companies. And if you select your client, you can actually come here and select all jobs for that client or each individual job. So you can select what you're going to do. Now, if I select all jobs for the client, for a particular client, it'll show me the total time worked, time invoiced, uninvoiceable time, total time still to invoice, overall estimated time. It breaks down everything here for you. You can see the estimated value of the project, the invoiced amount, paid amount. You can see as well down here is estimated. If I do the estimated value based on estimated time, how much will I be charging per hour? If I've got price per hour of invoice versus work time, what have I actually sold, what I've invoiced and worked, what have I actually charged per hour, and then the agreed initial rate. So you can actually see here, if I've agreed initial rate of £30 an hour, but actually based on the time I'm working and what I've charged, I might be earning a little bit more. and based on what I've actually invoiced and worked, I've actually earned even more than that. So you can keep track of whether or not you're on target, whether or not you're on track, as far as, so in other words, what you can do here as well is if you go to your job list and you are doing a fixed price, you can still fill in the estimated number of hours for a fixed price, because then what that'll do is it'll keep track of, actually, you thought this job would take 20 hours, so you charge £600 or whatever the case might be, but actually it's taken 25, and that will then obviously change these prices down here when you select that job. So you can see, it'll check the number of hours that you've worked and compare it to the price that you've charged and give you an hourly rate of what you've actually earned. So you'll be able to check that out as well. And this is also another interesting one. It'll show you, based on the jobs that you've selected, the hours that you've worked over the last 12 months. So that's quite a handy report that you can come in and, for yourself, obviously you wouldn't send this to your client, but you can come in and select which of your client you want to actually have a look at and see a breakdown of the job. So you've got your client job breakdown, your invoice inquiry that you can check your invoices in more detail, possible invoices to issue, the invoice template itself and the quote template itself, all generated, one or two selections on each, but all generated with data which you've inputted on these 4 red tabs at the bottom, your data input tabs, and obviously your setting sheet. So I hope that is clear. It is quite a complicated spreadsheet to use because it's doing a lot of stuff, but if you just keep on top of things, obviously with entering the different data as required, it should work really well for you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you. Goodbye. And just before the video ends, I just wanted to show you one more thing which I did mention right at the beginning of this video, copying and pasting data. Now, as I said, might be a good idea to do all your settings and save your default blank version with the settings already in, so you don't have to do it year on year, and then just change it if it changes. But let's just say you've got one from last year and you want to copy the client list over into the new sheet or anything like that. It's very simple. I'll show you on the timesheet. If you want to copy this row, right-click, copy, right-click. Now, you've got various paste options. You don't want to use that one. This will paste the formula. You don't want to do that one. This will transpose it. You definitely don't want to do that one. This will paste the formatting. You don't want to use that one. That will paste the link. That's not right either. So what is in fact correct, and the correct thing to use is this, paste values. Because what that does, if you paste values, is it actually says what's pasted there, I'll put it here, what's pasted there, I'll put it there, and what's pasted here, I'll put it there. So in other words, it'll just take the text. So you can copy and paste if you're pasting from an external sheet into the spreadsheet, or if you're copying from this spreadsheet into another place in the spreadsheet, always use paste values. If you use paste, it could well paste the formatting, and it could well lock the spreadsheet, or at very least just disrupt it and cause some issues with some of the formatting. So if you always just use paste values, you'll never ruin the spreadsheet. Then what you could do if you wanted to start a new one is just come here, scroll across, not the green, but it's just the red, scroll down, highlight your entire client list, right-click, copy, paste values into the new spreadsheet, and your client list will then be overcrossed into the new spreadsheet. And you can do the same with your job list. Alternatively, you can just save this one as your new one and come and just clear all the ones that aren't relevant. If you ever do want to clear contents, what you can do is just highlight what you want to clear, right-click, and clear contents, and that will remove it. So remember, if you want, I'll show you again. Highlight any data, copy, paste values, and if you want to remove it, simply highlight the data again, right-click, clear contents. That's how you add and remove data. You're not deleting anything, you're just clearing the contents, and you can resort by this column. Unfortunately, on the job list, you can't. You'd have to copy and paste at the end of the year values to each job that's still relevant, because you can't sort the jobs because of this job reference will change, and that'll cause you issues. So yeah, copy, paste values, and I hope that helps. Thank you. Bye bye.